Hi, it's Crystal, and welcome back. Today we are in Cambodia. The year is 2004, and I'd like to introduce you to our second protagonist, Arunny. Arunny is our love story in the novel because every novel should have a love story. And I also wanted to provide a little bit of light because the novel has so much heavy content. A love story does tend to lighten it up, even though they do have their challenges within it. So here is a runny. As I lie looking into the sleeping face of my husband, a rush of love washes over me in a continuous stream of adoration. I am one of those women who are lucky to have married the man they have loved since childhood. I have known my husband since we were babies, and my earliest memory is of us as small children playing shoeless in the creek. After a morning spent splashing about, we retrieved our flip flops at the river bank and returned dripping wet to our mothers in the village. Our families have a long history of friendship, so it was only natural we too would be friends. Our grandparents were friends, our grandparents were friends, and together they survived the Khmer Rouge's reign of terror. Even our parents are friends and our siblings. Given our family's entanglement, Chan and I were destined to be friends. For as long as I can remember, it has been the two of us. We have been blessed with one another, and the memories we have created stem from the pure enjoyment of being together. If I could have chosen a companion, I could not have chosen better. Chan and I were a good match from the start. We shared the same spirit of adventure, an exhaustive imagination, and an almost manic exuberance, according to our mothers. I cannot choose one childhood memory over another and claim it to be a favorite, for there were so many delicious moments. Our lives were seamlessly choreographed by a sequence of full bellied laughs and an endless barrage of giggles. Chan and I danced during monsoon season, the rain pelting our tiny bodies. The more insistent the rain, the more fanatical our movements became. Feet leapt into puddles, sending torrents of water crashing over our heads onto each other. We danced until we emptied puddles and had to wait momentarily for them to fill before we could resume. The smell of moist earth filled our nostrils as we hid amongst the lushness of the jungle. A banana leaf acted as an umbrella while we concocted stories about singing monkeys and talking elephants. When the rain ceased, tired from its journey downward, the two of us lay down and took turns burying each other in the soupy red mud. I always decorated Chan with an assortment of yellow orchids. Flowers are for girls, Chan would disgustingly inform me as I sought to arrange them as prettily as possible. A runny, flowers are for girls. I am a boy. In answer to his complaints, I always looked him directly in the eye and smiled. Ah, he would say, but Chan continued to lie as still as he could, allowing me to arrange an exotic landscape, the color of sunshine, spread over his mud-covered body. Whether it be to free our mud-caked bodies or soak from relief from the piercing sun, the creek was our main source of entertainment. Chan and I would splash for hours or lay on the bank with our toes dangling in the cool water. We loved the creek. We swung from vines and let go with a kerplunk in the middle, or we played hungry crocodile, the croc that nibbled on the toes of unsuspecting swimmers. The first time we played hungry crocodile, Chan did not tell me we were embarking on a new pastime. Rather, he dove, unbeknownst to me, and crept up to my vulnerable body. Upon reaching his target, he opened his mouth wide and clamped his teeth onto my big toe. His efforts were rewarded when I sprang from the water squealing. It was not so much his chewing hurt as it was the pure shock of having a mouth latched onto my toe. From that day forward, hungry crocodile and its variations became a staple activity we engaged in and never tired of. Looking back on it, I don't know what either of us would have done had there been a real danger snacking on our toes, for we would have no doubt assumed it was the other gnawing away. During one hot, dry season, we painstakingly constructed a raft from broken branches and vines. While riding our makeshift raft down the gentle rippers on the creek, we told each other the stories our parents had divulged while trying to tempt us to sleep. With the sun on our backs and our hair plastered against the side of our heads, we would sit, enraptured by various folk tales. We both took the liberty to embellish our tales, and it was up to the other to identify the exaggerated parts. By the time the tale was finished, our hair would be dry and our backs hot to touch. Chan's favorite folk tale was called The Golden Fish. I frequently delighted him by guiding him through the story of an old man and his encounter with a golden fish. Chan was the perfect audience, for it did not matter how many times he had already heard the tale. He listened with the same intensity as the first time he'd heard it. When I came to a part he was particularly fond of, he would excitedly claim, I love this bit. Often, after I had finished, he would say, tell it again, tell it again. I always obliged, fueled by his enthusiasm. Every time I would begin like this. There was once an old fisherman who was very, very poor. He lived in a tiny cottage by the sea with his old wife. One day, the old man gathered his fishing net and threw it over his shoulder. Equipped for a day's work, he walked down to the sea to catch some food, for they were very, very hungry. He threw his net as far as he could into the sea, but he did not catch anything. The old man tried a second time, and again he did not catch anything. Feeling deflated, the old man sighed and decided to try one last time. With all the determination he could muster, the old man threw his net out for the third time. The net responded to his will and sailed out further than his previous two attempts. I love this bit, Chan grinned, only temporarily interrupting the flow of my story. Feeling hopeful, the old man dragged the net in, and much to his amazement, there was a beautiful big fish the color of gold trapped in it. The golden fish, cried the man. Oh, I've caught the golden fish. Have pity on me, good old man. Please put me back in the sea, and I will give you something valuable in return, the fish said. In all the years the old man had been fishing, he had never met a fish that could talk like a man. The old man, in awe of the golden fish, carefully lifted the fish that could talk like a human high in the air and said, Peace be with you, golden fish. I want nothing from you. He gently threw the golden fish back into the sea, saying, Swim away with joy. The old man returned back to his cottage without anything to eat. Upon his arrival, he told the story about the golden fish to his wife. She's going to be mad, claimed Chan, already aware of the outcome. The old man's wife was furious with him. How foolish! Why didn't you ask for something, you silly old fool? Our 2 water pots are very old. Why didn't you ask the fish to give us new ones? The old woman stomped off, and the old man hung his head and went back to the sea. This time he called out very loudly, "O golden fish, I come to meet you." Upon hearing his name, the golden fish came to him. "What do you want from me, good old man?" asked the fish. To which the old man replied, "My wife is very angry with me because I didn't ask you for anything. She has ordered me to ask you for a new pair of water pots because our pots are very old. Please do not worry, old man. Go back to your house and God will give you a new pair of water pots." The fish smiled gently at the old man and swam away to the sea. When the old man returned to his cottage, he was elated to see a brand new pair of water pots. But the old woman was still unhappy, for she was a mean old woman. She angrily spat at him. "What a stupid fool you are! What good are these water pots? Go back to that golden fish and ask for a house, because our house is too old to live in." The old man said nothing to his wife, but returned wearily to the sea. The old man noticed the beautiful blue sea had become dirty. As before, he cupped his hands around his mouth and called out. He called until the golden fish came to him. "What is the matter with you, good old man?" the fish inquired. The old man hung his head in shame, barely able to look at the fish. He took a deep breath before proceeding. "My wife is still very angry with me, and now she forces me to return to you to ask for more. My wife wants a house." "Don't trouble yourself, old man," said the golden fish. "Return to your house, and God will give you what you want." The old man felt relieved and happy. When he returned to his cottage, it was no longer there. In its place stood a large building with many rooms. The building was made with strong bricks, and the expansive yard was shaded by lovely green trees. "My goodness," the old man muttered, "how very wonderful." As he reluctantly approached, the old man saw his wife sitting near a window. The old wife glanced out the window, and her eyes fell upon her husband of many years. "You filthy, dirty beast," she cried. "Why did you ask for such a bad house?" She pointed an accusing finger at her husband and yelped, "I command you to go back to that fish and ask it to change me into a young, beautiful, rich lady." On the verge of tears, the old man once again departed for the sea. This time the water had turned even dirtier. "Oh my," remarked the old man. Again the old man called out to the golden fish, and again the fish returned, pleasantly inquiring, "What is the matter with you, good old man?" "Please forgive me." The old man hesitated before he began. "My wife wants to be beautiful, young, and rich." The old man's eyes were downcast when the golden fish replied, "Never mind, good old man. God will make her a beautiful, young, rich lady. Please go back to your house with joy." The old man walked back to his house with heavy footsteps. From his vantage point, the old man could see his wife, who was barely recognizable had it not been for the scowl on her face. His old wife had transformed. She was young, beautiful, and had silky smooth skin. Her rags were replaced with exquisite clothing, and her neck, ears, fingers, and wrists were adorned with precious diamonds and gold jewelry. The old man, in awe of the transformation before him, politely bowed to the ground and addressed his wife. "Good morning, my lady. I trust you are now satisfied." But the beautiful young rich lady, who had everything, including many servants at her disposal, screeched at him between clenched teeth, "Go to the stable and work. Don't come here. You don't live here. You are too dirty to live here." 2 weeks later, the beautiful young rich lady requested the presence of her old husband. "My dear," she began, "I implore you to go back to the golden fish and demand it change me into a powerful queen." Chan interjects, "Ooh, I love this bit too." The old man could not believe what he was hearing, and he was afraid. He had already asked the golden fish for so much, and he did not want to solicit the fish for anything else. "Please, my lady, you are from a humble family. Why do you want to be a queen? A queen is high and important. Are you not ashamed of such a request?" he continued. "Please, please limit your desire, my lady. You have everything and more." Rage rose from the toes of the beautiful young rich lady and traveled up throughout her body with a great force until it exploded out her mouth. "Who are you to say such evil things to me? Don't you know who I am now? Can't you see with those near blind eyes? I am a rich woman. Go at once to the fish." Her voice bellowed through the large building and down to the sea before the old man could get there himself. When he arrived this time, the water had turned black. "Oh my," the old man said. Then he called out to the golden fish and confided in what his wife had said. "God will help her," the golden fish replied. No sooner had the fish uttered the words did the beautiful young rich woman become queen, and she resided in a magnificent palace. By the time the old man returned, the queen ignored him and demanded that her servants remove him from her magnificent premises. The old man was so distraught that he ran away in hopes of eluding the queen and her shameful requests. Not to be deterred, the queen ordered her servants to locate the old man, for she had a new desire that needed to be fulfilled. The old man was dragged unwillingly before the queen, whose demeanor reeked of a hunger that could not be fed. "My dear, it would please me so if you go back to the golden fish and ask it to change me into queen of the sea, so that I may be mistress of the golden fish." Horrified and unable to deny her, the old man returned to the sea. He called out to the golden fish. This time, the sea was a dreadful mass of black, turbulent waves. A great storm raged. The old man stood and watched havoc unfold before him until the great fish approached him. The old man shamefully divulged what his queen wife had requested. The fish listened intently, but it did not speak. Rather, it turned away with its head regretfully held down and swam back to sea. The old man waited a long time for the golden fish to come back and speak to him, but the fish did not come. He waited until the sun set behind the horizon and the sky blackened at the sea. When the old man went to see the fish, but he didn't see it return. Exhausted from his efforts, the old man went back to his wife. When he arrived, he saw there was no palace, no queen, no servants. Rather, he saw his old cottage with a pair of broken water pots under it, and he saw his poor old wife sitting near them. "Wow," said Chan. His feet were softly treading in the water. I could see his thoughts formulating before they came out his mouth. "Do you think there's such a thing as a golden fish?" "I don't know," I told him honestly. "I'd like to think there is." "We should look for it." "Yes, but Chan, we don't live by the sea." "It's a very old story," Chan further rationalized. This fish is much too old to swim in a big sea. I bet it now swims in a creek, as it's much easier on old fish bodies to do that. With matters settled, Chan and I began the quest of locating the golden fish. We dedicated many afternoons to test various approaches, just like the old fishermen did. "O golden fish, we come to meet you." We introduce ourselves. "My name is Arunny, and this is my friend Chan." We also promised to be good, kind people, not like the old man's wife. We wove miniature fish nets out of long grasses to try and catch them, and we assembled tiny boats, filling them with offerings of rice and flour garnish because we thought the golden fish would appreciate our presentation. "If we catch the golden fish, what reward will you ask for in return for its freedom?" Chan considered this for a long time before he responded. "I will ask that our families and others in the village have a long and happy life, and that you and I will always be friends." "I'll ask for that too," I said. We never caught the golden fish, but it was not for lack of trying. To this day, when I am by the creek, I call out to the golden fish. Although he never answers, I wish in the silence of my thoughts that Chan and I will always be best friends, and our families and others in the village will have a long and happy life. Thank you so much for listening. So tomorrow we'll finish off with Arunny, and by the end of the chapter, you will have a very good picture of her love for Chan and her mind space. Thank you so much.